It's more gripping than any box set we can get our hands on right now. The investigations into Russian interference in the U.S. election, and whether the Trump campaign colluded with the Kremlin, continue to deliver daily developments and drama worthy of anything seen in House of Cards. There are several ongoing investigations into the Trump campaign's ties with Russia, and reports of imminent arrests. Here is your viewer's guide to the main characters in the first 3 seasons of the only political drama that matters. Note: links to the key players do not work in the BBC News app. This is the season in which Donald Trump, the reality TV star, takes center stage in his own political drama by launching a presidential campaign. He's supported by his family and gets the attention of the Russians. The season ends with a cliffhanger. Could Trump the outsider actually win? It's been a while since all of this happened, so let's remind you of the key players in this season. Who is he? Donald Trump, the billionaire candidate who by season 3 is the 45th president of the United States. If you really need a refresher, here's his life story. Key plotline: as Donald Trump was busy traversing the country canvassing for votes, U.S. intelligence officials said Russia hacked into the emails of his Democratic rivals. The question is, why was the Kremlin trying to alter the outcome of the election, and what did Trump and his campaign know? What, if anything, did Donald Trump do to try to cover things up in the ongoing Russia investigation? Who is he? He was Trump's campaign chairman before being forced to quit over his ties to Russian oligarchs and Ukraine. Key plotline: Paul Manafort spent more than a decade as a political consultant in Ukraine. He resigned from the campaign in August 2016, after he was accused of having links to pro-Russian groups there. He also sat in on a crucial meeting with a Russian lawyer who may have been trying to feed the Trump team classified information. More on that later. He is now the first to face charges over the Russia inquiry. We'll meet him again in season 3, when the FBI raids his house as part of its investigations. Who is he? The president's eldest child. The Trump who we know did meet the Russians. The big question is why. Key plotline: the role of Donald Trump Jr. in this unfolding saga all comes down to a meeting he had with a Russian lawyer, which was set up by a music publicist, the full details of which come out in season 3. If it sounds random, then in many ways it is. In June 2016, the publicist, Rob Goldstone, offered him a meeting with lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya, promising Trump Jr. dirt on Hillary Clinton. This is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump, Goldstone wrote. I love it, Trump Jr. replied, and so he invited the pair to Trump Tower, where they met Trump staff Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort. This meeting is the key to much of our plotline because it raises several key questions. Did this amount to the campaign colluding with a foreign government? Why did he agree to the meeting? Don Jr. says the meeting was about Russian adoption policy, and Veselnitskaya says she's not an agent of the Russian government. But it's the scene investigators will be playing over and over again as they try to work out if there was any impropriety. Read more. Trump Jr.'s habit for making headlines. Season 2. The transition. Donald Trump confounds his critics by winning the presidency. But the transition is as gripping as the season before it as Trump picks his cabinet, introducing key characters to the mix. The season ends with Trump taking the oath of office on a cold January morning, but there are more twists to come. Who is he? The granite-faced former general who later became the shortest-serving member of Donald Trump's cabinet. He was forced to resign after not being honest about his contact with a Russian official. What did he know and who did he tell? Key plotline: Michael Flynn was appointed National Security Advisor just days after the election, against the advice of then-President Obama, who warned Trump not to hire him. Flynn's starring role came in December 2016, when he spoke to the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. The Washington Post and New York Times said the men discussed Russian sanctions, and that Flynn later lied to the Vice President Mike Pence about the conversation. Kislyak said the men discussed only simple things. The FBI is now investigating Flynn. And here's where the president comes in. The agency is also looking at whether Trump tried to get it to back off this inquiry. Read more. Out after 23 days. Who is Michael Flynn? Who is he? Many roads in this drama lead back to Sergei Kislyak, the jolly and charismatic figure, who up until July 2017 was the Russian ambassador to Washington. Key plotline: Kislyak's role in this drama is unclear, but he makes several appearances as the man many of our cast have had meetings with. The key questions for investigators are why were they drawn to him, and what was said. The Russian ambassador spoke to both Flynn and Sessions meetings, which both Trump officials didn't initially acknowledge took place. Anything else we should know? Well, Russia fiercely fought back against claims on CNN that Kislyak was a top spy and recruiter of spies. Who is he? Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III hovered in the background during Season 1, when he was an Alabama senator and a trusted Trump advisor, but we really got to know him during Season 2, when he became Trump's nominee for Attorney General. Key plotline: Sessions is one of a number of Trump's team to meet the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, and there are question marks over the nature of those meetings. Since the FBI investigation focused on the Trump campaign, Sessions stood down from the inquiry. That decision led to plenty of tension, with Trump taking potshot after potshot at Sessions on Twitter. Sessions has said any suggestion he colluded with Russia is an appalling and detestable lie. Read more. An Attorney General dogged by scandal. Season 3. The President said this is where the drama really picked up and all the plot lines came together. A lot of the background characters we saw in Season 1 came back with a vengeance and the infighting got nasty and, don't look now, but the police are circling. Who is she? A Russian lawyer who has fought against U.S. restrictions on Russia, with a fearsome reputation and a propensity for drama. But is she a Kremlin stooge? She says no. Key plotline: hers is a small but crucial role. She's the one who Trump Jr., Kushner and Manafort met in June 2016, the details of which were disclosed a year later once Trump became president. She says the meeting was to discuss adoptions, but those who helped set it up said she was offering dirt on the Democrats and Hillary Clinton's campaign. That meeting would never have happened without. Who are they? Emin Aglarov is Azerbaijan's biggest pop star, of course. Have you not heard? Love is a deadly game. Emin helped bring Donald Trump's Miss Universe competition to Russia, and the two are close enough to send each other birthday messages. His dad, Aras, is a billionaire who mixes in the highest circles of influence in Moscow. Key plotline: Emin is the man who set the wheels in motion on that Trump Jr. meeting. An email sent to Trump Jr. suggests Emin was offering information on the Democrats. Emin says he didn't. The email also says Aras Aglarov had apparently met the Crown Prosecutor of Russia, a role that weirdly doesn't exist, and got information on Hillary Clinton. Are you keeping up? Read more. The tough-talking networker. Who is she? One of those supporting characters who came from nowhere to play a massive role in the rest of the season. She was the acting Attorney General, until Sessions was confirmed in his role. And then she was fired. Key plotline: she's the one who informed the White House that Flynn had not been truthful about his meetings with the Russians. She argued that the fact the Russians knew about these meetings, and that the White House didn't, made Flynn vulnerable to blackmail. Her reward: Donald Trump fired her over an unrelated matter weeks later. She's been a persistent critic of the president ever since. Who is he? He became Deputy Attorney General under Jeff Sessions in the TV drama of the Russia scandal. This is the sort of role that would go to a solid Broadway actor you recognize but can't put a name to. Key plotline: given Sessions stood down from leading the main investigation into the Trump-Russia ties, it fell to Rosenstein to do that job. In a major plot development, he appointed a special investigator, not a popular move with the White House. He's also the guy who recommended in a letter that FBI Chief Comey be fired. That move proved to be a bit more popular with the president. Read more. The man at the center of Comey's sacking. Who is he? Married to Trump's daughter, Ivanka, Kushner is the character who is seen but very rarely heard. Key plotline: amid cries of nepotism, he was given a plum White House job as senior advisor to the president with a wide-ranging portfolio. It's his contacts with the Russians during the election campaign and beyond that have led to investigators circling him. In June 2016, Kushner attended that meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer. He says he was so bored he messaged his assistant to call him so he could leave. Kushner is also another cast member who had contact with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, including, reportedly, phone calls. He denies this, and a December 2016 meeting, where it's claimed he discussed setting up a secret back channel with Moscow. He denies this too, but investigators want to know why he failed to disclose these meetings initially. Read more. The son-in-law with Trump's ear. Who's he? When the White House says we refer all your questions to Mr. Trump's lawyer, this is the guy they mean. Key plotline: Washington, D.C. is a city full of lawyers, but none is as important as Jay Sekulow, the president's personal counsel. Like many political types, he also has a talk show on the side, but is often seen on the airwaves defending the White House. From the latest revelations in this ongoing investigation. Who is he? A British former tabloid journalist, with a penchant for selfies and silly hats, is perhaps an unlikely addition to the cast, but in most good dramas there's always room for the slightly out-of-place eccentric. Key plotline: Rob Goldstone finds his way into Donald Trump's circle of trust thanks to his connections with Russian pop star Emin Aglarov. Goldstone manages the pop star, and it was he who contacted Donald Trump Jr. on behalf of his client to set up that now infamous meeting at Trump Tower in June 2016. Goldstone sent an email to Trump Jr. promising dirt on Hillary Clinton, in an email exchange that is a key piece of evidence in this inquiry. Another highlight on Goldstone's CV is his work bringing the Miss Universe contest to Russia, and it is through these connections he once met Donald Trump himself. Read more at Music Man with a love for hats. Who is he? At 6 feet 8 inches, just over 2 meters, James Comey is a towering figure, the character who gives little away about himself personally, but has a huge personal role in this story. Key plotline: he first entered this drama in Season 1, when as head of the FBI he reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails just weeks before the election. Democrats blamed him for her loss, Republicans hailed him a hero. That, we thought, was the last we'd seen of him. Q Season 3, when months into the Trump presidency, Comey was fired by the new president. In true television drama style, he learned of his sacking as he was watching TV news during a trip to L.A. By this point, Comey was heading up an investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. Was this why he was given the Hevejo? His testimony to the Senate was one of the most gripping scenes in this drama so far, as under oath he told politicians he was asked to pledge loyalty to the president but refused. He also said he was told by Trump to let go of the investigation into Michael Flynn, a character whose stock is still high. It's unclear when he'll next make an appearance. Read more: the FBI director who took center stage. Who is he? The man who could decide the fate of the Trump presidency. Key plotline: some characters wield a lot of power, but don't have a starring role, such as Robert Mueller, the tall chiseled figure who was appointed as special counsel to take over the Russia investigation in the wake of the dismissal of James Comey. Mueller comes from the same stock as Comey. Both are former heads of the FBI. It's led some to accuse Mueller of not being impartial. There have been reports that the president has considered firing Mueller, but he's still in the job. With a team of more than 15 lawyers, and a staff of more than 36, he's working quietly behind the scenes amassing evidence. There are now reports criminal charges have been filed and arrests will take place soon. Mueller's inquiry runs alongside similar ones being conducted by politicians in Congress, but he's the only one who can press charges against anyone. He could play a big part in Season 4 onward. Text by Regina Vadia, Nathan and Roland Hughes. Illustrations by Jerry Fletcher.